TGO.TO Podcasts.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of InvestorIdeas.com Podcasts, looking at cannabis news, stocks to watch, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. Happy Tuesday, I'm your host Taylor Van Zandt, and today's podcast I'm going to focus on a few early announcements from, again, a few interesting companies. But first, focusing on a little bit of change in legislation. The Texas House gave preliminary approval yesterday to a bill that would reduce penalties to lower level possession for marijuana. Now, while the House has passed this and it still needs approval from the Senate, where presiding officer Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has expressed opposition to this idea, the lower chamber did vote 98-43 on House Bill 63 by State Representative Joe Moody, and this would change the bill possessions from 1 ounce or less to a Class B or a Class C misdemeanor. So it will go from Class B to Class C, which is the same classification as a classic traffic ticket. Why is this a big deal? Because this is a big topic of discussion in the cannabis area, especially regarding legislation, which is changing the crimes associated with the cannabis possession, as well as a few states, as well as California, if you want to look into this further, are looking at trying to roll back some of the penalties that have already been applied to some people with possession of cannabis. So they are looking at trying to even get some of the people out of prison who have been arrested for this. So definitely paying attention to it, the fact that this is happening in Texas and the fact that this has already passed one stage. It will be something to pay attention to for the next little while, because these laws are coming into place state by state and definitely affect both you as a person as well as you as an investor. So next, moving on to the companies, KHRN Life Sciences Corporation, again, TSX Venture, KHRN, and the OTCQB as KHRN.V. The Green Organic Dutchman Holdings Limited, trading on the TSX as TGOD and the OTC as TGOD.TO. Next Tech AR Solutions, trading on the OTCQB as NEXCF and the CSE as NTAR. And Ovation Sciences, trading on the CSE as OVAT.C. So first, just going back to KHRN Life Sciences again. Obviously, I talked about them yesterday, but they had another announcement today. Distribution agreement with Cuida cosmeceutical brand with CAFAM, a leading Colombian drugstore chain. So this agreement further expands the brand's points of sales in combination with the previously announced distribution agreements and e-commerce sales points in Colombia. Why does this matter? CAFAM is a large Colombian conglomerate. So how large? 270 stores across 63 different markets in Colombia, generating an annual revenue of $561 million. So again, Colombia has a large population. Latin America has a large population. And getting the distribution agreements across that area is going to become fundamental for any company looking to expand into Latin America. And the fact that KHRN Life Sciences has gotten this massive distribution agreement with a Colombian drugstore is important, I think. So the distribution is there going to be in the first 150 stores for the first 6 months of the rollout. But obviously, again, that can always expand because they got 270 stores and a large market. So something to pay attention to in that area of who's getting distribution agreements across Latin America, even besides KHRN Life Sciences. So next, going on to the Green Organic Dutchman Holdings Limited, who announced that its Kelowna-based extraction processing services provider, Valens Growworks, if you haven't heard of them as well, they have partnered with almost every company in the cannabis space right now. They are one of the main extraction partnership deals, and I believe they work with Canopy and Aurora as well. They're all over the place, so someone to pay attention to as well, besides the Green Organic Dutchman Holdings. But this has obtained organic certification from ProCert Organic Systems Limited. Again, why is this important? The Green Organic Dutchman has focused heavily on organic certification. That's definitely the brand that they have been trying to create as themselves. And they're definitely one of few companies in the area that's really focusing on the organic element. I mean, we've seen this in the food market very blatantly, that these can be obvious sales tactics of organic, natural, buzzwords, and the fact that this company is focusing heavily on actually gaining the certification so they can actually advertise this on their products is going to be possibly an advantage, or at least a marketing tool that they can use in their future. And again, there's other companies looking into this organic area, but the Green Organic Dutchman is definitely ahead of the curve as far as a few of them, and they've really focused on this. Again, quote from one of their company CEOs. So TGOD has committed to an organic since day one. Working with service providers to embrace organic as much as we do is paramount. I want to congratulate the team at Valens for obtaining their organic certification. This is Brian Athide, CEO of TGOD. We look forward to delivering certified organic oils to the highest standards of our patients and customers. TGOD collaborated with Valens to facilitate the organic certification of their organic processing methodologies, and as announced as part of this agreement, TGOD will have exclusive access to their services for certified organic extraction process for a period of a year. So moving on next to Nextech AR Solutions, who announced today the launch of a sentiment analyst capabilities within the Try It On augmented reality experience for online retail, the second in a series of sentiment-based technology solutions being developed for its patent-pending web-enabled AR e-commerce platform and site optimization. Now, I know we're talking about cannabis, and if you want to learn a little bit more about AI and tech, we do have an AI podcast, so please check that out if you want to learn more specifically. But Nextech is one of the smaller companies that's focused heavily on the cannabis area as well, because it's an emerging market, and it's definitely interesting to see how many of these small tech companies, people focusing on AI, focusing on AR, focusing on different tech solutions, and really a new sales strategy for a new market. I do think this is going to be important to the cannabis industry, as it's an emerging market and is changing a lot of the rules of commerce and trade and even marketing, that people who aren't paying attention to the technological advances and how they can utilize this for their sales and for their customer appreciation and distribution, I don't think they're paying enough attention. This is going to be important at some point. So about this latest feature is an integration of computer vision technology program to analyze shoppers' sentiment in real time as they try on different products. So they're using Microsoft Azure. The technology is able to live sample shoppers' facial expressions every few seconds and will make recommendations through an on-screen prompts based on positive or negative reaction. This technology seems crazy in my head, so basically they are able to tell if you like or do not like what you are trying on. And while this may be just used for clothing or a different store segment at the moment, this has massive potential for the cannabis industry as well. And again, Nextech is not the only one in this space. There's a few companies that are focusing on the cannabis sector, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. And lastly, we're going to look at Ovation Sciences, a topical and transdermal cannabis product development company with a patented skin delivery technology backed by over 20 years of research and development. Now, they announced something that's very interesting personally to me, and you'll find out why, especially if you ever meet me in person, because I have super pale skin. And they announced today that they've received results of a successful completion of an independent testing of its broad spectrum CBD sunscreen to be sold under its recently announced Arlo beauty brand of skincare and anti-aging products. Why I find this really interesting is they've received two of the highest certifications you can have for a sunscreen, and this is a CBD sunscreen. So there's two very important claims that a sunscreen can make: broad spectrum and water resistance. So the SPF value of a sunscreen refers to the protection from UVB rays. A sunscreen, however, that is broad spectrum means that the sunscreen provides protection from both UVB as well as UVA rays. So only sunscreens with a critical wavelength above 370 nanometers are allowed to make the claim that they provide UVA protection. Ovation's Arlo Beauty sunscreen surpasses this criterion, allowing it to be labeled as having broad spectrum. So this is UVA and UVB. And in addition, this independent testing also validated that Ovation sunscreen achieved the highest level of water resistance allowed, 80 minutes. I mean, again, I'm sure someone else is working on sunscreen in the cannabis area, but the fact that they're getting this approval, the fact that it is surpassing some of the expectations, I find very amazing. And also, I'm really wanting to get my hands on some of this sunscreen because I burn. So if you are like me and burn easy, maybe something to pay attention to, that there is now also new forms of sunscreen coming out from the cannabis area. And the CBD, I'm not sure what the extra effects could be for that, but I'm sure there will be more information in the future, especially as Ovation launches this sunscreen. So look out for Arlo Beauty or other CBD sunscreens coming to market, and maybe what their capabilities could be in the future. That's all for today's podcast. Thank you and have a great Tuesday.
That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.